Hello everyone, welcome to the Old Man and the Read. My name is Jerry. I'm going to, since I restarted my doing my videos here a while back, I decided I'll start doing my recap of my monthly reads. And so this will be the books I read in February. I think I read 9 books, 2 of them are poetry. And so anyway, I'll show you the books I've read and say something about them. The first book is Migration of the Kamishi by Gadi Bergman. This is a story that takes place in the future in the year or in the 51st century. And it's about descendants of the handful of survivors that survived from an asteroid strike on Earth that wiped out almost all of humanity in the mid-21st century. The people are living as hunter-gatherers, much like our ancestors did, and this was a conscious choice by the people not to return to what we consider modern living, or the modern world. But so the people live in small tribes, and the story is about the Kamishi tribe that's wiped out by another neighboring tribe, and there are only 2 survivors from in the Kamishi, and they set out on a journey to what is known as the Warm Lands. The next book is Walk Me to the Distance by Percival Everett. This is one of his earliest books, and it's a story of a disillusioned Vietnam vet who has returned. His name is David, and he ends up traveling across the country and ends up in Wyoming when his car breaks down. While the car's being fixed, he is going to stay at a sheep ranch that's owned by a woman with one leg. She's a widow named Sixbury. But as he stays there, he finds that he likes the life, and so this eventually becomes his home. The next book is The Colony by John Tayman. This is about the exile of people who have leprosy to a remote peninsula on the island of Molokai. It's quite an interesting book, but since I read this book, I have discovered that there is some controversy with the book and criticism because it takes some inaccuracies and liberties with some of the facts. Next book is a great book, Sergeant's Daughters by Erica E. Hirschler. And this is basically a biography of a painting by John Singer Sargent. And it's a book that my daughter-in-law and son gave to me, along with a few others. And really a great book. But it explains, or it talks about John Singer Sargent himself. And then it talks about the name of the painting is The Daughters of Edward Darley Boyd. And so the story then talks about each of the family members of the Boyd family, including what happened to each of the girls in the painting, and then about their parents. The next book is Jack by Marilynne Robinson. Another great book by Marilynne Robinson, but this is about Jack, and he's haunted by his past and he drowns it in alcohol with the bottle. But he then meets a young black woman, and this eventually starts a struggle, an internal struggle within himself. So he has to choose to continue to live the life of self-denial and that he's been living, or to become a better person in order to deserve the love of the innocent woman he has met. And this story takes place during the Jim Crow period, when mixed race couples were outlawed and racism was rampant. Next book is a reread for me, but I saw this in a used bookstore, and I had read the book 50 years ago or some such number like that. But this is The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, and I thought, I got to read that again. I had forgotten about it, but this was a book he had written in 1898, and it's basically about Martians landing on Earth. They constructs a giant three-legged war machines and start going out. Those machines are armed with heat rays, which sound very similar to lasers, and they have a chemical smoke bomb. But the British Army is defenseless against them, and so these machines just ravage the entire countryside. But then Mother Nature takes place, and microbes that they're not immune to take over. And this book, actually, I can remember back when I read this, made me aware that probably mankind will never be able to live on a remote planet anywhere, one that supports life, because if it's a planet that supports life, then any microbes on that planet will be completely lethal to humans, because we're mostly immune to the microbes here because we evolved with them, but those we would be completely separate from. The next book is The Soul of the White Ant by Eugene Marias. And this is another book that was written about 100 years ago. But in this book, Marias discusses his observation of the termites of South Africa, and he talks about his conclusions about them. It was quite interesting, and I thought one observation that he had mentioned that I found of interest was that the colony works very much like an individual organism itself. Then I have a couple of books of poetry. This is another Percival Everett book that I read, and it's the first book of poetry I've read by him. And this is Sonnets for a Missing Key. The first half of the book are sonnets, and they're inspired, I guess, by the preludes of Chopin and the piano solos of Art Tatum. But I have to admit, I don't have the intellectual ability or the musical knowledge to fully understand the terminology in it, but I thought they were great poems anyway. And the last book I have is When the Night Agrees to Speak to Me by Nanda Devi. And this is a collection of poetry. They're pretty dark, though. It's many of the poems deal with like suicide and depression, and some have some rather graphic images of violence. But those are the books I read in February. So I want to thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on another video. Thanks.